G'day and welcome to another episode of Perth Property Insider. I'm your host, Jared Mann, and today we're going into whether we're going to fall off a interest rate cliff or whether all of this talk of interest rates coming off of their fixed periods is anything to be concerned about or not. So got an expert in the finance space who's from Perth, Nick Aves from Purely Finance along, and I'm really excited to pull this apart and take a deep dive with Nick. So let's go inside.
Welcome to Perth Property Insider, where you will learn how to grow your wealth and improve your life using Perth property. Our show is brought to you by Investors Edge Real Estate, the highly rated and award-winning property management specialists servicing the whole of Perth. Now, here is your host, Jared Mann.
Hey Nick, thanks for joining us to cut through all the crazy media headlines at the moment to do with this fixed rate cliff. Seems to be everywhere, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly is everywhere. It's certainly in my inbox, Jared. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, so what are we going to fall off the cliff, Nick? We're going to cover that today. So
yes, get your ropes ready, get your chalk on, because we're going climbing.
Good one. So what is this fixed rate cliff for those that are not sure what's behind it all?
Yeah, what it is obviously we saw interest rates come down to unprecedented low levels. And I think a lot of people that would have been seeing a mortgage broker to get a home loan going back over the last few years, the brokers have been talking to them about how low these rates are. And it was potentially something that borrowers should really consider is to lock in most of their loan onto a very low interest rate. So a lot of people who took out loans in the last 2-3 years were fixing in all, or in most cases, part of their home loan or investment loan to take advantage of these once in a, multi-lifetime opportunity to fix these interest rates at a low rate. So historically, at the moment, there's more fixed rates in Australia than there's ever been at any other time. And of course, with fixed rates, at some stage, they end. And when they end, you've got to pay what the rate is today, which is a lot higher than what it was back then.
Well, people have had it pretty good, haven't they? When you consider that all of us on variable rates have been going through these roller coasters each month as the RBA, tells us their latest decision.
I know. Well, I don't think my postie has ever been as busy as he's been, because every month I get multiple letters from multiple lenders telling me that all my repayments going up on all my loans. So yes, it's been very sobering.
They seem to be spending as much on postage as they are on, getting extra interest from people. So
yeah, I know, it's full on. I mean, I'm getting text messages, I'm getting emails, I'm getting letters on all my loans. So I'm sure everybody else is as well who's on a variable rate. So, and of course, nobody likes to see their repayments go up. So, in all seriousness, it's not good times for people who have borrowings. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like seeing those letters in the mail at all.
No. Yeah.
What sort of percentage of people are we talking about that are coming off of rates this year? Because I think you might have seen the Sunday Times on the weekend going with a rather sensationalist headline where they said, 45 or 55%, but they didn't say of what. And I think when you read in the fine print, it was actually of fixed rate borrowers coming off, but not of total borrowers. So what's the actual sort of number looking like?
Yeah, I think it's hard to know exactly, right? But there were some figures that the Reserve Bank put out in October. And at that time, they said 35% of all home loan lending was fixed at that particular time. And I think of that, there's about 3/4 of it is coming off fixed either this year, and April seems to be when it's going to be starting the most, and into next year. So what that means is, of all the mortgages in Australia, if you sort of work those figures back, it's about 23% of all mortgages that are coming off fixed rates over the next 12 months or so.
Okay. Yeah. So we're really just starting to see that ramp up. I think starting this month, there's a bit more lending when we trace back 2 years ago, wasn't it? The market was sort of hitting its peak 2 years ago, or starting to pick up activity. And
Yeah. So it was really, that's right. So it was, we really started to see an increase, which was really strange. Nobody saw it coming or forecast it. Was when, the COVID started, really, and the lockdowns. It's when huge amount of activity took off then. So, so I think the month they're saying is that most of the payments sort of come through in about April, from April 2023. And that's for people that were on 2-year fixed rate loans. So a lot of those entered into a 2-year fixed rate, and 2 years tended to have some really good specials come out for rates. A lot of borrowers were tempted to go into this 2-year fixed. We certainly had a lot of clients that we had that went into 3 years, and there were some. I think the best I saw was with ING Bank on a home loan. It was about 1.99 for 4 years. So we sort of got quite a few clients locked into that. So they're still sitting pretty for at least another 12 months.
Yeah.
But certainly there's a lot coming out from April.
So when we look at average loan sizes throughout Australia, and what was the sort of typical, how did loans look around that April 21 when most people fixed, and how might they look today? Because that'll give us a bit of a feeling, won't it? Yeah.
So look, I think the rates were the average size home loan in Australia, I think, was just under $540,000. So it was about $538,000 or something. Obviously depends on the state you're in. In Western Australia, a lot of the people that were buying were first home buyers. So in Western Australia, their home loans could have been less than that. And I imagine if we're in New South Wales, Sydney, they could be a lot higher than that. But the average was around about $538,000. And back then, those 2-year rates that people were jumping into were just under 2%. So, people were seeing these rates with 1 in front of them, which was unbelievable. When you even now look at rates today, you sort of think, wow, that's just, it was a blip, a blip on the timeline, and it just seems unbelievable. But yes, so some people were tempted on those 2-year rates, sort of high ones, 1.9, 1.98, somewhere around there, 1.99, and fixed in. So a repayment on that average size loan back in the day would have been, I reckon, about close to $2,000 a month. And when it comes out, if we sort of look at where rates are today, that's going to be sort of on $3,000. So it's going to be a jump of just over $1,000 a month for the people, which is $12,000 a year. Yeah.
And I guess, 12,000's nothing to sneeze at on the average incomes, and that's the difference of you taking a nice holiday or not, compared to previously if you're not used to it. So
that's right. Yeah. And if it's owner occupied debt, that's after tax dollars that you're sort of having to earn a fair bit of money to come up with that $12,000 after tax, don't you? So and then you can see why that's, I suppose, the aim is to take the money out of the economy to try and quell this inflation. We get political and talk about all that, but it's probably
that's one of the reasons they're doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the reason they're doing it. But then you sort of wonder if that's the reason for the inflation with all the stuff that's gone on with COVID and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, yeah.
And I guess when loans were originally assessed, we have that safety buffer of 3% odd. So we're starting to get to where that buffer allowed for now. And how does that kind of fit into things? I guess at least people have been, tested at that percentage back then. So they technically probably can afford it, but
so there's a couple of, I suppose there's a couple of things to think about there. So yes, the banks had to put in a buffer of 3%. It used to be 2.5%, it increased to 3% back when we're talking. So the banks were saying, look, if interest rates go 3% above, can the client still afford the repayment? They also look at clients' living expenses. So some clients are very frugal and can live with quite low expenses, and some spend more, right? And it tends to be the more you earn, the more you spend.
Very good.
So they're assessed as well, and the banks have minimums. So there's 2 things that's happening to people. One is that interest rates are going up. And yes, you're right. I mean, interest rates have gone up 3.35%. So technically we're slightly over that buffer, but also the living expenses have gone up. So if somebody was borrowing their absolute maximum they could borrow on their income back when they took these loans out, technically now they would be struggling.
The bank
because the living expenses have gone up and the interest rates have gone up slightly above what they were paying. So that's where it's a little bit scary for people.
And I guess the
Hopefully,
challenge now, as well as, if someone does need to refinance, the banks, aren't they still assessing it on that 3%? So,
correct.
and it's
Yeah,
from today onwards.
yeah. So there's been a lot of talk about mortgage
Yeah.
prism, particularly on the East Coast, and they're talking about, in the press, they're talking about valuations. So if you've lost the equity in your property because you bought at the peak and the market's come off,
Yeah.
and if you only had say a 10% deposit and the market's come off 10%, you could be 100% borrowed now, so you can't refinance. But even people that have got good equity, and if you're in the West Coast where we don't seem to have had any downside that I've seen yet,
No.
you could still be in mortgage prison, because you're quite right. Because where we were assessing the loan, say, at an interest rate of 2%, and we were working out if you could afford the loan at 5% plus the living expenses now if you were refinancing a loan and the interest rate might be 5%, can you afford it at 8%? So the 3% buffer is still remaining today.
Bang.
So it's that much more difficult to be able to meet servicing guidelines. So again, if you have low debt level or high income, that may not be an issue for you, but for a lot of people it will be. And I think the thing that's probably the scariest is people that, and it often tends to be people who are buying their first home, if they've sort of borrowed the maximum they possibly can, and now something else has happened in their life. So maybe, they're starting a family or something like that. So they've gone from 2 full-time incomes to 1.5 incomes or something like that. Couple that to interest rate rises and cost of living expenses, you can understand why they can't afford it. There has been some wages growth, and it's been in the press at the moment. They say it's not keeping up with the cost of living. So that may offset some people.
Yeah.
And obviously we've seen an increase in rental income for property investors. So that's offsetting it
Rents
as well.
gone up 30, 25, 30 odd percent.
Yeah.
And still likely to keep going up at least another probably 10% over the next year.
Yeah,
If not
I know.
more.
It's a real crisis. I mean, you're seeing the side of that as well, which is really difficult for people or almost impossible for people to try and find a rental property. So it's not an ideal situation anywhere, really.
No. So I guess all the people that were on variable, myself included, have kind of already, we've had these adjustments as we go. Is there any sort of learnings for what might be ahead for these people that were on fixed as to how the rest of us have been handling it?
Yeah, look, there is some statistics and stuff on that, but so far what the banks are saying is that arrears are extremely low, historically low. So it would appear at the moment that people on variable rates, which is most people, are handling the increases and able to make the mortgage payments at the moment. I suppose the question is, how have they been doing that? Have they been using savings? Have they been using redraw money and offset? Have they been cutting back on other things? And I imagine there'll be some cutting back coming. So, I still think as a whole, the mortgage industry is still fairly comfortable. The banks, as you know, it hasn't been easy to borrow money in the last number of years. And, people involved in lending do look at people's living expenses. They are looking for private school fees and gym memberships, and they take all that into account with living expenses. The loans have been assessed at 3% higher. And even though we have seen interest rates increase significantly and we have seen cost of living increase significantly, life before was pretty good. People, going out, and they've got multiple streaming services and lots of coffees being purchased and all that sort of thing. And so, maybe we are in for a slightly more difficult period where, we need to take our lunch from home rather than buy our lunch and stuff like that. But I suppose all this stuff is related, right? So that's no good if you own a lunch bar, But if you're somebody who's going to work every day, you can get your coffee at home and you can take your lunch and spend less on the weekend and maybe not go out and make your mortgage payments. And history shows that most people do whatever they need to do to make their mortgage payments. So I have heard stories of people getting a part-time job and, a little bit extra, or doing some Uber Eats or a bit of Uber driving or whatever, just to bring in a little bit extra money just to keep things ticking along. So I don't think we're going to see mass mortgagee sales. I think there's going to be some people who are going to struggle, but that's often the case. But I think most people will suck it up really and carry on. They don't really have a choice.
Yeah. And Yes, I guess the variable rate holders seem to be coping by all measures. And I saw one stat the other day that around 15% of savings are still getting put in offset. All these stats lag. So the trouble is that, the data's probably 3 months old to December anyway. But at least that's an encouraging sign that people are still managing to put some extra savings away on the average. And there's always people at the harder ends of the spectrum that saving would be a dream that they've lost.
Yeah.
So, but at least that's encouraging that on the average, people are still managing to put money in offset.
Yeah. And I think most people, when they were taking out the loans and interest rates were low, a lot of the comments we were getting back from our clients, from first home buyers, was, wow, that's what I'm paying in rent. So they were always intending to start their loan repayments on their variable split by paying extra, and could easily do so at that time. So, and again, speaking from a Perth perspective, it was quite interesting because a lot of the first home buyers who were coming in to see us, and even second home buyers upgrading, it was very rare where somebody would be borrowing anywhere close to their maximum borrowing capacity in Perth. People would come in and you'd do the numbers and you'd say, well, based on your income, you can borrow $1.2 million. And they would almost fall off the chair. I mean, they were looking at borrowing 400,000. So it was massively under. Where it gets more challenging is for investors who have a lot more debt across, a lot more properties. So that once we start factoring those 3% affordability rates across their whole portfolio, then it gets challenging to be able to afford the level of debt that they want. But yeah, so I think in WA, sure, there'll be some, but most, I think there's a lot of capacity still. And we were lucky because our interest, because our incomes are pretty good and our real estate was very cheap.
Yeah. And I guess our rental yields are also one of the highest in the country too. So that helps investors hold things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So variable rates look like they're probably going to still keep rising for a while. What's your take on that? And is there any decrease on the horizon, or is that too early to say?
Oh, look, all the economists are speculating and running opinions. Obviously, the Reserve Bank's under a lot of pressure at the moment. It's unbelievable.
Getting grilled the other day in the Senate.
Oh, no, absolutely. So they're under a lot of pressure.
Rob Lowe might be losing his job soon.
Yeah, I don't know if his contract will be renewed, but I think that shouldn't impact their decision. And what the Reserve Bank has come out and said is, look, we will do what we need to do to kill inflation. And what they're saying is, look, your mortgage payments might be going up, but if we don't attack inflation, everything goes up, right? So you're going to be a lot worse. As untenable as interest rates going up and your mortgage going up, it's not nice, it's good. It's one thing. But inflation is everything, man. You don't want killer inflation, it will kill you. So there's a lot of emotion about your mortgage going up, but in some ways you can understand why they're doing it. I think government can do other things as well, but that's another conversation. But I think, but what he said was, we expect another couple of rate rises in his last rate announcement for February. So if you look at that, maybe another 0.25 in March, maybe another 0.25 in April. Today, there were some encouraging figures in relation to inflation, and that was that the economy growth expectations came in for December, and they were less than what anybody expected. So that sort of shows that the economy is having a pause. And I certainly know, speaking to people in business confidence is at a real low. I mean, businesses don't like the uncertainty of rate rises and worried about what the consumer is going to be doing, and talk of recession. Businesses are really worried. So maybe that is a good thing for interest rates, and possibly that may mean that the Reserve Bank has a slightly different outcome, but I don't know. A lot of the economists, though, have come out and said, look, we really think these interest rates are going to bite hard. The economy is going to slow pretty quickly, and that's going to lead to rate reductions. And some of the banks, I think Commonwealth Bank, has come out and said they expect later this year for rate reductions to start, and there could be 4 of them. So who knows? We could be sort of peaking and then coming back down again. So I suppose what that means is fixing at the moment is possibly not the answer. It's sort of like maybe continuing on with the variable rate, unless you absolutely need that certainty. So variable rates for home loans at the moment, if you've got a 20% deposit, they're still available under 5%. I think some of the lowest are in the 4.8s. And for investment properties in the low 5s, sort of 5.18, 5.2, something like that for investment properties. And if you look at the fixed rates, 3-year owner occupiers are sort of 5.44. From there, 5 years is 5.67. So they're still a fair bit higher than the rates. And on investment, you're sort of 5.6 for 3 years, maybe 6% for 5 years. So if the economists are right and interest rates are peaking and then going to come back down, you may be better off just hanging there for variable, but it's hard to know.
Yeah. And I guess it just is a good reminder that, you know, even if we go higher, it's not a forever thing, and even interest rates move through their own cycles as well. And I guess with so many people being on interest only now, after they've come out of fixed rates, you'd have to imagine that soon we'll have one of the highest percentages of interest only, and so at least more people will potentially benefit when it does start coming back the other way. So they won't be locked into the higher rates. Most people won't lock in again.
Yeah. And I suppose the thing is, with interest rates, I mean, we're sort of back to where we were in 2012, but sort of 5% for a home loan is still not that bad. Sort of, I don't know, before 2012, we had a little drop, but before that, they were significantly higher than that. So, yeah, I sort of think everybody kept saying these are emergency level interest rates to stimulate the economy. We had the GFC, and then bang, we had COVID. You know, everybody kept saying these are emergency to stimulate the economy, and they will come back to normal levels. So I sort of feel we are sort of back to sort of more normal levels at the moment. I certainly wouldn't want to see them go any higher, and I think they've been too quick, but you know, 5%, not too bad if you sort of factor in, you sort of do your sums on capital growth and returns on investment properties and stuff like that. You know, you should be able to make it work on those sort of numbers, you'd think. So, yeah, so I suppose it's just coming to terms with that to some degree.
Yeah, I've certainly noticed that when interest rates started increasing, there was that initial shock factor and everyone was like, oh, I'm going to pause and just hold my search. And I had heaps of people at home opens, but not many people offering. Now people seem to have digested it and it seems to be, you know, normalized again. But there are certainly those that the more this continues that are starting to pause again too. So it just depends where you sit on that spectrum with, it might mean still buying a house, but some people are like, oh, I'm going to, you know, reduce my budget now, go for a bit lower.
Well, I certainly think that reduced budget is a real thing because people's borrowing capacity will reduce, and also the cost of the mortgage. You know, so people still want to live, so they have a number in their mind that they can sort of comfortably afford per fortnight or per week or per month.
Yeah,
and they sort of work that back, and they go, okay, well that used to be a loan of 600, and now it's a loan of 400 or whatever it is. So that means people start to look in a different income bracket. But there's still plenty of people with plenty of money, right? So there's still people for every bracket, I think. But being on the ground in Perth and looking around and dealing with clients who try and look for properties, it's still just the lack of supply, Jared.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
no choice. So, why do you go and sell your house then if you can't find a house to move into?
Yeah, and people get, I mean,
you can't rent in the meantime. So, you know, what do you do?
Well, that's a real worry, isn't it? I mean, nobody wants to be homeless. It doesn't seem to matter if you've got a good job, good income, good financial balance sheet. If there's no rental property, I mean, you're going to end up crashing with somebody or living in your car, regardless if you've got a job or not. So nobody wants that. So I think a lot of people are just going, oh, it's all a bit hard. We'll just stay where we are.
Yeah, a lot of tenants are certainly doing that. We'd normally have, 45, 50 properties for rent at a time, and we've got 5 to 10 at a time at the moment now. So
that's unbelievable, isn't it? That's unbelievable. Yeah.
And the other thing that I'm seeing, and I don't know whether you have seen this on your side, is that I've sold 15 on properties over the last 3 months, and I've sold 6 of them to buyers with cash, and they didn't use a loan at all, and most of them were retirees downsizing, and normally in a whole year I might see 1 or 2 cash sales. So, over 50% in a 3-month period. I don't know the exact reason why, but I suspect that people are just making the decision to downsize, reduce their overall costs on the property, as well as the, if they might have a remaining little loan on their larger house, it's like, I'm going to get rid of all loans. I'm going to go down to just straight cash. And all these people seem to have sold their houses before they're coming to me, and they're not making it subject to sale or anything. That it's just a clean offer with stronger negotiating power. And that's been really eye-opening and different. So
sounds like that's fantastic if you're a real estate agent. Not so good if you're a mortgage broker, mate.
No, sorry about that. Yes, my owners have been happy with the cash 30-day settlements.
Yeah. Look, potentially that. I mean, I suppose also there's been some changes with legislation that you can downsize and put money into super. So I don't know if that's on people's minds. I suppose also if you end up with some cash and putting it in the bank, it's actually worth something now. You're getting a return on it. Like before, cash was worth really nothing, was it? I mean, put it in the bank and you get nothing on it. So I don't know if that's factoring into it. But yeah, maybe people just deleveraging a little bit, like you said, in certain times, costs of funds going up. If you're right, if they've sort of retired and they had a bit of a residual debt, it wasn't really costing them much to sort of serve that. Whilst now it is, maybe it's time to get rid of that and clear the debt. Could be a number of reasons. Yeah, interesting though.
I just had another thought that I have been selling quite a few people's investment properties that are preparing for retirement, and they've just sort of decided, well, now's the time. And that could be where they're also getting the cash from. Sell a couple of your investment properties that are not as wanted, or you don't want to carry them through to the next phase of your retirement. And then you've got some cash to go and buy a downsized family home, so that you don't have to then sell your family home until you got the new place bought. And then you can move from one to the other without a subject to sale. And that I've just kind of linked the two pieces together because, a lot of the 15 properties I'm selling are for those people that are transitioning to that next phase.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I suppose that's always an interesting question. When's the best time to sell a property when you're approaching retirement? That's probably could be a good topic for a podcast. But you're right. I think people have, obviously in the Perth market, if they've been in for a while, they would have seen some growth, and then they would have seen some negative drops, and now they've seen some good growth again. And now with interest rates going up and that sort of stuff, they sort of might feel, okay, look, there's a bit of uncertainty. Maybe now we do cash in. We take the equity off the table, pay out the debt, and set ourselves up for retirement. And that was always the plan with these investment properties. So that you can sort of see why people would be doing that. It makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess worst case, if someone had to sell, is there any stats on what the typical equity is looking like across Australia at the moment? Because
I think there is some stats in relation to that. A lot of people who bought properties had reasonable deposits, and obviously over the last 2 years there has been some pretty good growth depending on where you're located in the country. And in some places in the country they've come back a bit. Some of the stats I've heard thrown around though is that some of the properties that have come back a bit more are the more expensive properties. So you often those really expensive properties, we're talking, well over $1 million, they're either cash buyers or sort of very low loan to value ratios. So that wouldn't really be a factor. And in the first home buyer space, it seems to be the prices are stacking up quite well. I think stats, I don't know if I've got actual stats. I do have some notes here, Jared, I can have a quick look at in relation to that. I think the Reserve Bank did bring something out, and they were saying large deposits were quite a factor in it, and they were saying only 0.5% of all home loans were in negative equity.
Oh, yeah. So very
small equity, yeah. They say if homes would fall another 10%, that would rise to about 1% of all home loans.
Okay, wow. So not much flows through.
Well, it's 1% of all home loans, and then of those where they have got the negative equity, obviously something else has to happen for them to want to sell. So it doesn't mean say all those are going to sell, right? So it's only a percentage of that 1%. So it's a percentage of the 1%. So it is quite small from a statistical basis. I mean, if you're one of those people, it's not small at all, of course.
No.
But I think as far as the overall market, I don't think we're going to see any real flow-on effect to affecting values or anything else from that.
I mean, I guess that's why it can take such a long time to show up and to flow through, especially when you count savings in people's bank accounts, changing and reducing their spending, getting the other jobs, etc. By the time they finally hit exit, I have to get out of this property. It could be 6, 12, 18, who knows how long. Obviously, people are going to pay their loans before they, pay their takeout for the week. So there's a lot of changes that people can hopefully make before we get to that place.
I mean, I think the big thing is how the economy goes overall, because what we want to do is stop inflation, but we don't want to kill the economy. I mean, if we
it's a very hard mix, isn't it?
Yeah. And if
we want low unemployment, but on the other hand, we don't want inflation. So
yeah, I know. But if they go too hard and they push the country into recession, well, then that's when you'll see real damage flowing through to all sectors, because people lose their jobs in recessions, and no job, no income, you have to sell, right? So particularly if it's not easy. But what we have seen, going back, if we talk about since these rates were low, is we've seen, just real struggles for employers to find employees. So, and we've definitely
it's hard to operate a business when you can't find staff. Thankfully, this time we just recruited for a new property manager to add our ninth portfolio due to growth. And last time I had to pay recruiters to headhunt, and I had to, it took us ages. And that was probably 2 years ago, a year and a half ago when we last hired. And now, at least this time, there was a few more applicants, and we had some real quality to choose from, and we found someone excellent. So I'm excited. She's just started and
fantastic.
To speed. So, but it was nice as an employer to actually have some, have some choices and have a few more applicants in the mix. And I don't know if, obviously every industry is going to be different, but you don't, want it to grow. We need those people that want jobs as well. But then when we get more migrants and other people coming in, that all feeds back around again, doesn't it? And makes the rental crisis harder. And so,
look, we get stats on our portfolio. We've got a big portfolio of loans. We've been going for a long time, and
that'd be interesting.
there's hardly any in arrears. If they are, it's often a technical thing where the payment's just on the wrong day or something like that. So there's no hardship from our client base that I know of. Certainly nobody with lost their job and can't find a job or anything like that. People that have had to move jobs for whatever reason seem to be upping up really quick at the moment. So that's good. But that's that knife edge, and that's what I think the Reserve Bank talks about, walking down a very narrow corridor that, they don't want to go too far one way and throw us into recession, but they don't want to go too far the other way and see inflation take off. So it's a very narrow path they're on, and they need to try and keep on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, it'll be an interesting year ahead, and we'll have to catch up again soon when we see a few more things develop. And thanks for your time today, Nick.
No worries, Jared. Absolute pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Yes, mate.
Just a reminder, the information discussed in this podcast is general in nature. As we don't know your specific situation, you should always seek professional advice before taking any action. For free market reports on your suburbs of interest and other helpful resources to grow your wealth, make sure you join my property investor update at investorsedge.com.au/join. And finally, make sure you're a member of our Perth Property Investment Facebook group to be part of the conversation with other like-minded investors, get help to your questions, and get a feel for what's going on out there in the market. I'll see you in the group.